We've all been told that the US economy is built on hard work. But what if I told you that a huge part of it is about exploiting those who can't even fight back? Yes, the USA has a secret profit machine, and at the center of it are Mexican people. So I'm going to expose it in this video and explain 10 ways Mexicans are exploited for profit in the USA that should be illegal. Number one is the business of locking people up. People in the US think that border arrest means jail and trial. That sounds super simple though, doesn't it? The truth is very different. A person that crosses and gets caught often ends up in a private prison, basically. These are not government jails. They're run by corporations that profit every day when someone sits inside these prisons. The two biggest players are GEO Group and CoreCivic. They work like fast food versions of mega chains of prisons. Everybody that sits in a cell every day means cash for these companies. Their government contracts pay them per person per day. GEO alone profits over $2 billion a year from this. What I think it really is a business built on suffering. So what happens when empty beds means lost profits? They push to keep those bunks full. They push to keep them full. They do whatever they can to put people in those beds. What ends up happening is people start to wait longer inside these places, and the court cases pile up. So you have a long delay. For families that are affected, that's a pain. But for these private prisons, that's income. Like I said, it's a system built to turn suffering into steady money. Number two is the Bed Quota Scam. Now let me explain a little bit. Here is a fact that most people don't know. Immigration detentions run on a bed quota. That means a fixed number of people must stay locked up every single night. The magic number is 34,000. This is not to hold people just in case. It's actually fill the bunks. They need to be 34,000 bunks. They need to be filled every day, no matter what. Think of it like hotels forced to stay full. Empty rooms would be banned and illegal. I'm sure if this was the case, hotels would have workers that drag strangers from off the streets inside and make them stay in their hotels just to meet targets. And that's how detention centers are run. Even when the number of crossings fall, the quota demands that there still be the same amount of bodies inside these prisons, just to meet the count every single night. The winners of this game are the same people over and over again. The corporation, GEO Group and CoreCivic, these companies help push the law that wrote this quota into stone. They lobby for these kind of things. A full bed means a payday. Families suffer while cells become basically spreadsheets. The people inside are not a danger to the US. What they actually are just data points. It's a sick excuse for $1 billion business, if you ask me. Number three is slave wages in detention centers and prisons. Locking people up brings huge profits. For private prisons, making them work brings huge bonuses and profits for these corporations. Inside detention centers, people are told that they can earn money with jobs. That agreement sounds fair until you see the truth. Usually that job comes with a pay of like $1 a day, not an hour. That's one whole day of work. That means one candy bar can cost more than a full day's wage. A call home might take days of work to even complete, to even get enough money for it. There are some lawsuits from former detainees that show that this is worse than we actually think it is. Some detainees even report threats of solitary confinement if they refuse to scrub bathrooms, cook food, or fix buildings. Many work 8 to 10 hours for pennies on the hour. At $1 a day, the math just screams slavery. The companies that run these detention centers defend it as voluntary. They say it's voluntary work, yet lawsuits across the country call it forced labor and even human trafficking under US law. GEO Group and CoreCivic save millions while taxpayers and prisoners cover the bill. Prisons turn into literal workshops, and workers trapped inside become profit tools, not people. Number four, farm labor exploitation. Step outside the prison walls and the abuse just keeps going. Many Mexicans end up in farm fields. From outside, it looks like decent work, but from the inside, it looks like complete control. Surveys show that about 40% of crop workers lack legal papers. Now, if that's true, that makes them targets for shady employers. I'm not saying they're all shady out there, but definitely targets for shady employers. There are a lot of shady employers out there. We all know this. Bosses know that a single call can trigger deportation. So in that case, wages stay low, hours stay long, and safety rules just vanish. Housing turns into another trap. A lot of times workers get packed into old trailers or sheds owned by the same bosses. Then they get charged rent out of their small paychecks. And if they lose that job for any reason, they lose the bed. And what happens is that kind of fear keeps people silent. Now, there's been some federal raids in the past that have revealed some extreme cases. In Georgia, investigators found that Mexicans they were held in fenced camps at one point, at one place, maybe even more than one. This actually happens. They were forced to work without pay and threatened with guns if they resisted. And what happens is us as the consumers, we end up seeing as just cheaper food in the stores, but we don't usually see the hidden costs. Number 5 is H-2A visa abuse. Working without papers is one trap, but the legal option, believe it or not, can bring another trap. The H-2A visa brings Mexicans in as farm workers. On paper, it promises jobs, housing, and rights. In practice, it gives bosses full control. The bosses are the ones that hold these visas. If the worker complains just a little bit, the boss can cancel it. And that ends the job and the right to stay in the country. They're going back home. The law says that bosses must pay their fair wage and provide housing. But there are reports that show something completely different. Workers packed in crowded rooms, paychecks stolen, and passports taken. And then threats are made to keep them quiet. Many of these people that come to work in the US pay illegal processing fees even before they leave home. And the employer is supposed to pay these fees. And what happens is that the employer makes the worker pay these fees before they even step foot into the USA, which then puts them in debt to these companies. This program has exploded in recent years, with over 370,000 jobs certified in 2024 alone. Farms say they need it. What it really delivers in a lot of cases is a debt trap disguised as a job and dressed up as paperwork. A workforce that can't quit becomes the perfect bargaining for shady bosses all through the USA. Number 6, the border wall is a literal business. Politicians love the photo op at the border wall, don't they? What they actually don't say is how much money and profit actually flows through the border wall. Billions have gone to contractors pouring concrete, raising steel, and stretching fences across the desert that don't even attach to each other. Even when these projects, when they fail, these companies still collect the profit. They still get paid. The wall isn't some shield. It's a business. And steel, like steel to put up the wall, is only the start. The real boom is with high-tech gear. Drones circle the sky, motion sensors, they detect the ground. Facial scan and AI trackers turn borders into labs for policing. Big defense and tech firms lock in billions of dollars in contracts. Officials call it smart security. Contractors call it revenue for their shareholders. It's wild, isn't it? Here's the logic they put into it. Crisis equals cash. No matter if the border crossing rise or fall, funding keeps flowing. It doesn't matter. Migrants still come. The only constant in it all is the spending. For companies, Mexicans become the reason for another check to be signed in Washington that fills their fat pockets. Number 7, I call this the Bond Racket. Now picture this. If you don't understand what I'm saying, picture this. A family member is locked up in detention. No violent crime, no trial yet, but they want freedom. They always do. They always do want freedom. So the court sets a bond, right? Now the numbers climb high. They're 5, 10, 20,000, even higher. They can be a lot higher than that. Usually the families are the ones that scramble to pay this bond. When they can't pay, if they don't have the money, which a lot of them don't, private bond firms appear like a magic man. They just appear out of nowhere. Well, they don't appear out of nowhere, but they exist. These firms take a fat fee, usually around 15 to 20% of the total of a bond. Now that's good profit if you ask me. On $10,000 bond, that means $2,000's gone forever. Even if that person wins their case and follows every rule, the money never comes back to them or their family. It's a billion-dollar industry built on complete desperation. Now here's the twist though. High bonds keep cells full. The families that can't pay leave their family member locked up. That means more profit for private prisons, obviously. And these are all set up this way for a reason. The loop feeds itself over and over again. Courts set prices, companies skim the fee, and detention centers end up cashing in. Freedom becomes this sort of product, I'm gonna call it. And poor people end up paying the bill as usual. Number 8, legal limbo. Detention centers are sold to the public as waiting rooms for court, basically. It's a simple trap. Immigration courts are drowning in cases with over 3 million pending at any moment. For people stuck inside, that feels like a sentence without any end whatsoever. Days turn into months, and months turn into years. Each day in cell means cash for these huge corporations. At $150 to $200 per person, the math is simple. The more people held inside means the more that they can be billed every week. For private prisons, slow courts are not failure. It's actually welcomed to inflate their profits. Every delay, every reschedule, every pile of paperwork turns into profit. The human cost to this is brutal. Families split, parents miss kids growing up, jobs and health vanish. Some just give up their rights and sign deportation papers just to leave their cell. What looks like justice is warehousing disguised as making America look safe. What looks like a court case is really just an ATM for huge corporations. Just prints the money. Number 9 is deportation flights. Even after detention, there's always that money that keeps flowing. When detainees are released, many are placed on one-way flights back to their home country. That home country that courts assign to them, even if it's not their home country. These deportation flights are the last stop for ICE. ICE runs it under air operations. Regular airlines don't get this contract. Private contractors do. Every flight costs the taxpayers tens of thousands of dollars. And these seats are sold in bulk. And again, each passenger becomes a product. Companies like Swift Air and Omni Air International have profited hundreds of millions of dollars. They've done it this way, maybe even more than hundreds of millions of dollars, maybe even billions of dollars. The reports don't seem to be out. Some years, deportation flights alone brought over $1 billion in contracts. It's a huge business. For these firms, the people on the flights aren't travelers, they're cargo. And here's the kicker. Even the failed flights, they pay. If the country refuses to take someone back, the contractors still collect their money. Planes get paid whether the mission is complete or not. Families lose loved ones, taxpayers pay the bill, and for corporations, it's business as usual. Deportation isn't just transportation out of the country. It's a supply chain built on human freight. Now, number 10 is the workforce in the shadows. Even if people don't get detained or deported, profits find a way. Many Mexicans land in underground economies. Construction, meat packing, cleaning, and farm work. Those are big ones. All of these industries depend on them. These jobs are hard, dirty, and risky. And they also are some of the lowest paid in the US. Bosses know workers without papers can't fight back. Fear keeps wages low and profits really high. Millions of undocumented workers are part of the US workforce, adding billions in value every year. Many of these people get paid under the table with no safety nets. When you get injured, there's no help. The threats of deportation completely silence every complaint, even if the bosses, the owners of these companies, are making them work for free and taking their money. And what happens here? Wage theft runs wild at these jobs. The silence isn't by chance. This silence is a weapon that shady bosses use against the people that have fewer opportunities than them. And a lot of these people are they're in need deeply. Many people point at Mexicans as a burden to jobs and safety. But the truth is that there's whole industries in the US that quietly depend on their labor to survive. Step back and the pattern is clear. From lockups and quotas to farm fields and deportation flights. Mexicans are turned into profit every step. This isn't about safety or order. It's simply about money. People are reduced to becoming profitable products. This machine isn't broken. It's working exactly the way it was designed, so don't let it fool you. If you made it this far, you've likely connected to this video. To dig deeper into the history of the problem and why it keeps going, check this one out next. This is the truth behind the USA targeting Mexicans. In it, I'll show you where all of this came from and why it's still running strong today.